You're listening to What We Saw on Stolen Cable. I'm your host, Uncle Patches. Sinister Cinema is out this week. This week we're covering the episode Before the Bandit. There was Vanishing Point. Of course, the film's called Vanishing Point. Key characters in this are Kowalski, played by Barry Newman, Super Soul, played by Cleavon Little, and of course the 1971 Dodge Challenger RT. Let's get into this. This is an interesting film. I know it mostly from my father. From back when I was 16, we built a car together. It was my first car that I was actually able to call my own. 1966 Ford Mustang. Thing was beautiful. Spent a lot of time working on it that summer. Got to know my dad a little bit better. I always seemed to fight for attention for him between me and my older brother. So whenever I got a chance, I tried to get to know him a little bit better here and there. Anyhow, we were working on the car, and he would tell me stories. And he told me the story of the 1971 Dodge Challenger RT and the movie Vanishing Point. He liked the title of this movie, Vanishing Point. He explained it to me. There's a point when you're driving down the road and you're going as fast as you can, and if you're chasing somebody that's well outmatched you, you'll see them just disappear on the horizon. At that point, it's just a vanishing point. Interesting story about the 1971 Dodge Challenger RT. Back in 71, the motor car companies, that would have been General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler, had a tendency to fudge the numbers on the sheets to sell vehicles. In the case of Ford and Chevrolet, they would say the horsepower rating on the car was higher than it was. And on the Dodge Challenger, they happened to say the horsepower was 375, when in fact it was close to 500 or more. Some say up to 550 horsepower. They sold it like that so they could get around insurance companies and be able to run their cars in stock car races. Anyhow, it was a beast. In comparative of the two cars, because I am comparing this to the Smokey and the Bandit film. Smokey and the Bandit had a 1977 Pontiac Trans Am with only 220 horsepower. Vanishing Point is not like most other chase films that we would have been aware of back in the day. Chase films were like Smokey and the Bandit or The Cannonball Run. Those were both comedies. Well, I mean, for the most part, Smokey and the Bandit was a comedy. Had Jackie Gleason in it, the great Jackie Gleason. This film doesn't have that. This film is grounded and dark. It's kind of a gritty film. I watched it years later after building a car with my dad. We found it on cable TV, actually. Saw it and decided to sit down and watch it for the first time. It wasn't like back in the day where you can just look up the stuff on the internet and it would pop up in front of you. This is kind of a cult classic for sure. It's dark, it's gritty. Kowalski's a tragic character. There's no reason for the film. There's no reason to be running from the cops in this film. He's simply doing a job where he's delivering vehicles. He creates his own drama in this, not even to prove a point. And through a series of flashbacks in the film, you understand why. He's seeking his own death, I believe. Or perhaps he even found his own death. And he's living in a loop, over and over and over again in purgatory. The film starts with him turning from his death and racing backwards. Starts from the end and goes back to the beginning. So when he turns back, his car fades into nothing, and then you see him arrive at the beginning. Drives into a garage, talks to the owner. The owner offers him a place to sleep. Said, "Nope. I need another car. I'm going home." It's home San Francisco. He's currently in Denver. The only car they had available to go out that direction was the 1971 Dodge Challenger RT. And he was going to go home. First stop, his speed dealer, so he could stay awake. He's determined to be home by Monday. Current estimates for that drive between Denver and San Francisco is 1,268 miles. It's about a 17-hour drive with modern highways. And in this particular film, there are no modern highways. He is on the old routes. So he gets all hyped up on the speed. He's racing along, barely holding on. Has a couple of motorcycle cops try to catch him. And the first thing he does is run one off the road, and he makes a run for it. And he gets away. Gets away at the state line. The cops didn't like that at all. They use the radio and they call ahead. Now, when I was driving, my dad always told me, there's no way you can beat the radio. He probably learned that from this film. From then on, he's being chased by highway patrol, from highway patrol to highway patrol. Super Soul picks up on the encounter and starts guiding him. He's a blind DJ. Has kind of mystic powers, like he's trying to talk to him, trying to guide him. Cleavon Little, his most famous role, oddly, that I would know him from, what most people would know him from, nowadays anyhow, would be Blazing Saddles, where he played the Black Sheriff. Fantastic role. Hilarious movie. But I didn't know until I started doing research into this that he had won a Tony Award. Talented actor. Seen a lot of times in TV shows, like The Love Boat, or then again, back in the day, everybody was on the Love Boat at one point in time or not. The writer of this film has an interesting story. The writer's name is Guillermo Cabrera Infante. I'm sorry, my Spanish is terrible. I'm pretty sure I butchered that. I grew up in a mostly Spanish-speaking city here in Texas. You'd think I would be better at it. He was credited as Guillermo Cain. My dad didn't know this at the time. I actually learned about this by watching the special features later on in life when I got the Blu-ray extended version. Well, it wasn't extended, but it had the documentaries and stuff like that, which really drew me to the film afterwards. But Guillermo was a Cuban-born writer and journalist, exiled from Cuba. The story goes as he came to America at one point, fell in love with the open roads here, the road system. He just thought they were amazing, came up with this beautiful story, and then fled to Europe. There are other characters in the film. I'm going to get into them a little bit later on. I want to talk about this, though. This isn't really a chase film. This is that book or movie or poem that your 9th or 10th grade English teacher, you know the one I'm talking about, the one that was 20, 25 years old, very attractive, all moony-eye over stories. She was the one that taught you how to read into the story. Well, this is definitely the movie to read into. Most people see it as a man on the run, just living life on the edge. That's not the way I see it at all. He's already dead. You learn in his flashbacks, and you also learn through the cops when they're doing a background check on the mad driver. Kowalski's a Vietnam vet. Won the Congressional Medal of Honor. Had a girlfriend. She's a beautiful girl. She died in a surfing accident, which is a very California thing to do. He was a cop at one point in time. Had disillusionment with the badge. I'll talk about that a little bit later on, too. So he stopped being a cop. He was a race bike driver and had an accident there. Had an accident while racing cars. So then he went into the delivery service. It's a dead girlfriend that does it. Most men are romantic at heart. At least I'd like to believe so. You lose the love of your life. You kind of lose who you are. I've been lucky. I've been very lucky. So, somewhere down the line, the chase gets a little bit heated. Arizona's there after him. He doesn't know what to do. He takes a wild dash and turns off into the desert. Now, this is where I believe that he's in purgatory. I believe he's set on this set path that he's got to go down these roads over and over and over again and live the last few days of his life. And this is where this little turn is the deviation that he does. And he runs into what I like to call the strangers. I don't know if any of y'all played Red Dead Redemption. John Marston would run into strangers as side quests, which are just weird people that you encounter and do weird things. First gentleman he runs into is a prospector. He's running low on gas, has to change a tire. He's lost in the middle of the desert. Super Soul's trying to talk him into going home. Super Soul's always on the radio. Prospector comes out of nowhere, chastised him for not knowing his way around the desert and being out in the middle of nowhere. His truck is broken. Kowalski offers him a ride. Cops show up in a helicopter. They hide the car in brush, drive out when the cops are gone, and they make their way to a religious revival. Prospector was out there collecting snakes for their service. Apparently they got a band in the meantime and decided to move on to music rather than snake charming. The leader of the group is very suspicious, doesn't like the fact that the prospector had brought him out, Kowalski out. They're looking for gas. They give him what they can. They fill up the car. Kowalski leaves. The whole encounter is creepy. Prospector is left behind. So from there, next set of strangers, Kowalski gets back on the road, starts heading back, but the strangers try to grab him anyhow. Comes up on a car that says, "Just married." 2 gentlemen waiting on the side of the road. Kowalski offers him a ride because the desert's hot, and he's not a bad guy after all. They get in the car and things get weird really fast. They try to carjack him. Kowalski, being a former cop and Medal of Honor winner, Vietnam veteran, was able to beat them guys back, get them thrown out of the car. But it leaves you to wonder, what happened to the couple, the newlywed couple? Are they lost on this road in the desert, out in the middle of nowhere? Nothing's ever brought up about them again. Super Soul's given directions. Kowalski comes across a guy on a bike, recognizes who he is, and offers him help. Tells him that there's cops out there. Tells him that they're waiting for him. So they go back to his place. Kowalski needs more speed. So what does he do? It's at this point we run into one of the more weirder encounters. This is, of course, 1971. We're at the end of the free love era. We're starting into the weird 70s. But it's still there. It still lingers. They're out in the middle of the desert. There's nobody around. And there's a beautiful woman, buck naked, on a motorcycle, driving in circles out on their land. Beautifully tanned. She offers him anything. Her partner had gone ahead to check on the cops. She offers him anything inside or anything of her. Kowalski turns her down. When her partner comes back, of course this is a free love people, doesn't mention anything of it, finds a way to get Kowalski out. From there we go to California. He's almost home. He's driving at night, comes across the final stranger. Beautiful woman on the side of the road. Beautiful woman. Woman on the side of the road is Charlotte Rampling. Hope I pronounced her name right. Most people nowadays would recognize her from Dexter as Dr. Evelyn Vogel. She was in Red Sparrow as the matron. And she was in Zardos as Consuela. Zardos is a really weird 70s one that came out starring Sean Connery. If you haven't seen that, you probably should. Or maybe you should avoid it. There's just no telling nowadays. It was a bizarre film. But in Dexter is what drove me nuts about her. I saw her in Dexter. I recognized the woman. I did not recognize I did not know where I recognized her from. Dr. Evelyn Vogel. She was a psychiatrist that talked Dexter's stepfather into training him to be a serial killer for good. She's a much older lady at that point. You can see it in her eyes, though. The beautiful woman that she was when she was younger, staring back at you. She was beautiful in this film. Very beautiful. She seems to try to tempt Kowalski with drugs, marijuana, anything to slow him down. He does eventually pull off to the side of the road to get some rest. They have a brief conversation. But Kowalski takes a shot and she seems accepting. But he wakes up the following morning and she's completely gone out in the middle of nowhere. I believe she was dead. She does mention in their conversation that she's always been watching him. Always been there. Now she's got to take him home. Interesting story about the 2 hitchhikers. The ones that tried to carjack him. First one was Paul Koslow. First one was Paul Koslow. He specialized in tough guy biker roles back in the day. Was in the Omega Man with Charlton Heston. Was in Rooster Cogburn with John Wayne. He was one of that guys. You know, that guy you always saw in something back in the day. Always seems to be in everything. Robert Donner. He was also one of those guys. I don't recognize him as much. So, there are a few nude scenes in this film. The scenes are not about sex. They tell the story on their own. Like I said, this all leans back to that 9th or 10th grade English teacher you had. There's some key takeaways from them. Something to be learned. The first nude scene is with a young woman in the backseat of a police car. Kowalski's partner is trying to get her to give up her contacts, all the while undressing her, forcing himself on her. Kowalski finally steps in. This is the point that disillusioned him from the police force. Didn't want to be a part of that. Didn't want to be a part of the corrupt system. The second scene, was with his girlfriend. Just before she drowned, they were making out in the back of a van, which is a very 70s thing to do. She was also very beautiful. They didn't show her death. All they showed was her surfboard washing ashore with nobody around. This scene was about the loss of something beautiful. This scene was about the loss of love. Final nude scene was with Gilda Texter. She was the beautiful woman riding on the motorcycle toward the end of the film. Saw an interview with her on the special features, of course. She talked about getting the part, was really nervous about it, knew she was going to be buck naked on the bike. Spent days tanning so she would have a perfect tan, and oh boy did she have the perfect tan. No tan lines on her whatsoever. What she didn't account for was how much they were going to be shooting over and over and over again, and she had gotten a really severe burn by the end of the shoot. She was not happy about that. At first glance, you would think this part was about sex, a naked woman on a bike in the middle of nowhere. It really wasn't. It was about the loss of a time period. This is the end of the free love era. There she was, all by herself out in the middle of nowhere. They use nudity in modern films just as a cheap thrill. The contrast here. It's weird to come across a film where nudity has some extra special meaning. Cleavon Little as Super Soul shows up as a blind man walking to his job at the radio station. You see him a lot of times meditating, telling his technician to run another record so he can figure things out. He'd reach out to Kowalski over the radio. I'd seen this before in modern films. One in particular, Need for Speed. Michael Keaton's character in that film was running the final race of the film. Kind of a recluse out in the middle of nowhere, but apparently he had a live podcast, and he would put out his radio speeches talking about the stories of the riders and the drivers. Very reminiscent of Super Soul from this film. So we're coming down to it, talking about the end of the film. This is where the film ends, and I think this is what breaks him from his purgatory. Like I said at the beginning, he was approaching police officers. What I didn't mention was they had 2 front-end bulldozers blocking the highway, or the road. Had them nose to nose, with a slight light in between them. The light wasn't there at the beginning of the film, but there was a bright light afterwards, at the end. You see it shining up through the center there, the sun setting in the background. Kowalski just plows right into it. A lot of people say that he saw the light and thought that he had room. I don't think that at all. I think he saw the end. I think he saw the light and went right for it. They destroyed a Camaro instead. They couldn't bring themselves to destroy the Charger. Beautiful. They had several for the film. They ran them ragged. They would scavenge parts off of one another to get one running for each. Thing was a beast. I think I got a lot to clear up here. Come down to the end of this. I know it's not as interesting. I know the back and forth with me and Sinister Cinema has a lot more drive to it. This probably put you to sleep. I'm sorry. It's a great film. I'm reminded of a story. Went to go see a double feature. The Grindhouse double feature. Second film that was on there was done by Quentin Tarantino. Second film was Death Proof. Had Kurt Russell in it. I also had a 1971 Dodge RT. One of the talking points of the three hot stunt ladies, they found it in an ad for sale. They went to a guy's house just so they can try to drive it around. Get the test drive so they can do their crazy stunts on it. One of the talking points in between the girls was, this is the Vanishing Point Charger. It's the same make, same color, same engine. I got a kick out of it. My buddies asked me at the end of the film, what were you laughing about? I said, well, what do you mean? Apparently I'd been the only one that watched Vanishing Point, so I was the only one able to get anything out of that. I explained it to them. They thought it was cool. I still don't think they saw the film. Y'all should watch it though. Before we go, if anything we talked about tonight hits close to home, you know you don't have to deal with it alone. You can call 1-800-273-8255 or visit www.988lifeline.org to connect with the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. There's always someone to listen. From what I understand, you can also text 988 or call 988 on your cell phone. If you're texting, veterans can press 1 to get somebody that specializes in veterans crisis. Well, it's been a long road, and I should probably let you go. You've been listening to What We Saw on Stolen Cable. I'm your host, Uncle Patches. Thank you very much for listening, and have a fantastic day.